that you absolutely do, because it was an absolute corker. 5 riders battling out for victory, and it all came down to turn 12, as it so often does here at the Chang International Circuit. And eventually it was home hero Jack Puetizan who won by just over a tenth of a second from Shinya Ozawa. Eamon Adaki was on the podium with Zen Matani, and your championship leader Veda Pratama finishing down in 5th place. Pratama led out of turn 11, the penultimate corner, but ultimately finished down in 5th place. It was a phenomenal battle. Like I say, please do go and watch it if you have the time to, because it was motorcycle racing at its finest. Some of Asia's future stars on the Grand Prix scene, hopefully on the road to MotoGP, strutting their stuff around this 4.55 kilometre long circuit. My name is Elliot York. Alongside me in the commentary this morning is Jack Appiah to bring you race 2 action here. And thankfully, so far, the rain has stayed away. It's a little bit cloudier than it was yesterday. Not as hot so far as yesterday afternoon. 30 degrees air temperature, still plenty warm enough, of course. There is a few clouds in the air, but it doesn't look like we're going to get rain for the Asia Talent Cup race this morning, which is good news for all the riders involved, and good news from a neutral's perspective as well, because I think we're going to get a fantastic battle. Jack, good to see you, mate. Did you enjoy yesterday's race?
Oh, absolutely, I enjoyed it. A magnificent fight. As you say, 5 riders at the front. Unbelievably, as we started the last lap, Veda Pratama, the championship leader, led the race. 1 lap later, he finishes 5th. The guy that came across the line in 5th to start the final lap somehow came through to win it. It was absolutely brilliant watching. As you say, do go and watch it, but I mean, try and wait 45 minutes. Let's have this one happen first, then go and watch it. But actually, then we've got MotoGP warm-up coming up, which you might save it for the end of the day, actually, because we've got 3 fantastic Grand Prix coming up today. In Moto3 World Championship, only 4 points split in the top 4. Pedro Acosta could be crowned Moto2 World Champion today. And of course, it's the next instalment of Bagnaia versus Martin. The gap now only 18 points, but our focus is going to be this, the Idemitsu Asia Talent Cup. 55 points the difference between Pratama and Mitani, meaning that the Indonesian won't have an opportunity to wrap up the championship here, but we head on to the Sepang International Circuit in Malaysia in 2 weeks' time after this, and you would imagine if Pratama gets a good result here, he's got every chance of wrapping up the title in Malaysia in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. We did come into the weekend thinking it was possible. It was a massive ask for Pratama to win it here, and ultimately it's not going to be the case. But he can take a giant leap towards claiming the title in Malaysia, as Jack says. We just had a replay there of what happened down at turn 12, the final corner here at the Chang International Circuit. As we mentioned, Pratama leading out of turn 11, he would have expected him to at least stand on the podium. He knew that he had 4 riders behind him, all wanting to try and stand on the podium and win, and that little bit of contact between Pratama and Shinya Ozawa just cost him slightly. He did well to stay on the bike, to be fair to Pratama. Great save down there. We're just getting confirmation of Wan Moon, unfortunately declared unfit for race 2 due to yesterday's crash. He crashed down at turn 7 and was fortunately taken to the medical centre, and unfortunately for the Thai rider, he will be out of race 2. So we wish Wan Moon well and hopefully see the young Thai rider back in Malaysia fighting fit. But we're going to get racing underway in around about 6 minutes time. The riders just pulling around to the grid after doing a couple of sighting laps, getting used to the conditions, not too dissimilar to yesterday, but just getting themselves warmed up and ready for what's about to come.
Couple of things to keep your eye out on this one then. The riders, as you mentioned, that were up in that lead group yesterday, were all on the front 2 rows of the grid. Pratama, the poleman, he finished 5th yesterday. On the outside of the front row, the home hero, Jack Puetizan, he won the race yesterday. Row 2 of the grid, we've got 3 Japanese stars who are all going to be looking to try and fight back today. Eamon Adaki leads row 2 in 4th, ahead of Zen Matani and Shinya Ozawa. One man that we didn't really see featuring yesterday, that's because he had a double long lap penalty. He starts 2nd, Ryota Ojiwara, only a 10th away from Pratama in qualifying yesterday morning. So well worth keeping your eye on Ojiwara today. He could be the dark horse in this one. Obviously wasn't up there fighting with the other 5 riders as a result of that penalty yesterday, so could come in and pose a few problems. There is the Japanese rider, yet to taste victory, yet to taste podium success this season so far, but does find himself 6th in the standings, has finished 4th on 3 separate occasions, has got a 6th place finish twice as well, so he has been consistent. You would have to say a little bit unlucky not to have tasted podium success yet. Will that change today?
He'll be hoping it does. He got a double long lap penalty for riding slowly in several sectors in Friday's practice. The rule was introduced after the riders were a little bit naughty, shall we say, back in Indonesia. They'd scrapped the rules, but because it happened in Indonesia to too many riders, they brought the rule back in for this weekend in Thailand. And yes, unfortunately, Ogiwara was caught out in practice, so he had a double long lap penalty yesterday, which ultimately cost him a chance of trying to fight for the podium. But starting from 2nd place, as Jack said, less than a 10th away from pole position, he'll be hoping to be in that podium fight. 6-rider fight potentially coming up, or even more.
That's how myself and Elliot made our way into the circuit this morning on the back of a bus. Windswept and beautiful as ever. And it was nice to get a bit of a breeze as well. 30 degrees air temperature already at 9:45 this morning. It is a warm one. It is extremely humid out there as well. As you say, weather is going to be on the lips of everybody today. I think we might get away with it, but let's see. Certainly, as you said, good news is this is going to be bone dry, 15 laps ahead of us, and if it's anything like yesterday, get ready.
Bone dry, 15 laps ahead of us, so expect rain then in the next 15 or so laps. But no, it does look like it could be dry, but we've seen in the years that we've been at the Chang International Circuit, rain could come from anywhere at any time. Number 2 of Zen Matani clawed back a couple of points in the championship chase. He benefited from Pratama's last corner incident with Shinya Ozawa and finished 4th place. Matani now 55 points down on Pratama in the standings, and that was Matani's worst finish across the line all season. He had that DNF back in Japan in race 2 when he crashed out of the podium places on the final lap, but every other race he's finished, he's been on the podium as the star rookie. So a P4 for Matani. He wouldn't have been too pleased with that. He was in the podium fight, and anyone who would have finished off the podium yesterday were just unlucky, really. But he did importantly beat Pratama, knocking a couple of points off Pratama's advantage. We just saw there on your screen Shinya Ozawa. He stood on the podium yesterday, his 2nd podium of the season after finishing P2 in Japan. Spoke to all 3 of the podium finishes yesterday and asked Ozawa how excited he was for race 2 this morning after a fantastic race yesterday, and all he said was P1 tomorrow. So Ozawa making his feelings very, very clear indeed. So it's going to be a fascinating battle. All these riders are going to be super hungry. The Thai fans filling up the grandstands already this morning, and they're wanting Phuetazan to stand on the top step once again like he did yesterday. In fact, Phuetazan moved up to 3rd place in the overall standings. He's now only 65 points. I say only, it's still obviously a big margin, but he's decreased that gap in the standings to Pratama. But what's going to happen today? Here is your starting grid. It's Pratama on pole for the 3rd time this year from Ogiwara and Phuetazan. Adaki, Matani and Ozawa are on row 2 with Alzahuti, Takehira and Fadia on row 3. Row 4 is led by Hafai with Putra and Singapong, the wildcard rider, on row 4. Row 5 is Nicholas Rasadan and Mailandri. Tanachot, the other wildcard rider, is on row 6 with Russo and Darwizi. And row 7 is Chavan, Gading and Putra, rounding out your 21 riders, with Wamoon unfortunately declared unfit after yesterday's crash. Warm-up lap then is underway for race 2. As we've mentioned several times already, yesterday's race was an absolute spellbinder, and they'll have all gone away from yesterday, debriefed after the race, done some homework, see where they can improve, and I'm expecting, Jack, another fantastic battle in the next 15 laps.
Absolutely, there was no love lost between the leading 5 yesterday, in particular between Shinya Ozawa and Veda Pratama as well. Ozawa, as he came into the final corner, Phuetazan had already made his move on Pratama, and Ozawa fancied a little bit himself as well, and gave Pratama a big old nudge, which in the end, the Indonesian very lucky to stay on, very lucky to come across the line and salvage 11 points. But I'm sure there's a little bit of needle there between those front five, because at times the red mist did come down.
Yeah, there were several times, even in the opening laps, in the opening 5-6 laps, where a little bit of contact was made. It was all fair enough, but it was a little bit too close for comfort at times. I'm sure it was all under control from a rider's perspective, but watching up in the commentary box, it was a little bit hairy. There's your championship standings. A reminder: Pratama 55 points clear of Mitani, Puetesana a further 10 points down, 65, and another 10 points down is Adaki. So the riders really do need to make a bigger dent into Pratama's lead with only 5 races to go, including this one.
From what we saw yesterday, clearly there was a change of tactics as well. Pratama had it all his own way. It was becoming far too comfortable, far too easy for the Indonesian, and the riders around him knew that, and that's why they just tried to disrupt his rhythm, be as aggressive as possible, as often as possible yesterday, to make sure that he wasn't able to edge clear. And this circuit plays into that as well. The opening 2 sectors, that 1 kilometre long back straight, and then as they punch out of turn 3, a near 1 kilometre long straight, allows them to get tucked in behind, and it makes it very, very difficult for anybody to pull away, even a man like that, Veda Pratama, who's been so dominant this season so far.
Yeah, it certainly does. He got a fantastic launch to Pratama yesterday from pole position, but soon enough the riders were able to reel him in using the slipstream. A fascinating circuit, got pretty much a bit of everything as the Chang International Circuit. 12 corners, 7 right, 5 left, 4.55 kilometres long, and it lends itself to absolutely phenomenal racing. The riders then lining up on the grids, the green flag waves in the background. We're all ready to get underway for race 2 here, round 4 in Thailand. Who is going to win this one? We're about to find out. The red lights will come on at the top of your screens, and we are underway for race 2. It looks like a good launch again from pole position for Pratama. Puetesana on the number 20, the Thai rider, race 1 winner of course, gets a great launch from P3. Is he going to make a lunge up the inside at turn 1? No, he's not. So it's going to be Pratama who leads from Puetesana. Can't quite make out who's in 3rd place. A good start. It's Mitani, I think, who is in 3rd place. So a good start from the 2nd row from the number 2. Now the slipstream comes into play. Who's going to lead down into turn 3?
Here we go then, down to turn 3 for the first time. 3 abreast they are, and it looks as though it's going to be Zen Mitani to hit the front. In fact, it could be anyone here. There's 5 guys all trying to take the lead. In the end, is that Pratama that just sweeps around the outside. He goes wide though. Who on earth is leading in the end? It's the number 14 of Adaki that comes through in front. Deary me, it's gloves off already on the opening lap.
Turn 3, we saw that so often yesterday. So many different lines. The inside line, the wide sweeping line, down into turn 4. The fast 5th gear left-hander at the end of the 2nd back straight. Pratama now leads once again. So Pratama, like he did yesterday, didn't want anyone to lead for long, and he's back in the race lead. Negotiating turn 5. This is the start of the infield section. They'll fly through turn 6, then flick it right for turn 7. It's now Ogiwara, the rider who had a double long lap penalty. He's got a better start than he did yesterday as the number 16 rider we mentioned. He'll be hungry for podium success today after being so close to pole in qualifying, and he's got the horns locked into the rear end of Pratama on this opening lap.
Poor start for Shinya Ozawa, the man that finished 2nd yesterday. He did start from 6, meaning he had a bit of work to do on this opening lap, but so far he's gone backwards. That's a brave move for turn 11 there. Is that Mitani trying to squeeze through? I think it was. Meanwhile, at the front, it is still Pratama that leads us into the final corner. A little bit wide there, though. Opportunity, perhaps, for the man behind Ogiwara to try and pounce here. He won't have got the best drive, Pratama. Ogiwara's maybe going to have a look up the inside into the opening corner here. Not close enough. Still Pratama that leads the way.
Lap 2 begins, and it's an absolute freight train here in the Age Talent Cup, just as we expected. Ogiwara on the number 16 machine didn't get as high as this yesterday. He thought better of it at turn 1 because he knows down the slipstream, and he's going to pull out of the slipstream. He's going to be P1 for a while. Looks across to his right-hand side, and he sees Adaki on the number 14 getting a great drive out of turn 1 down into turn 3. Here we go. Who's that at the inside? Late on the brakes. Pratama's going to go from P1 to P4 in a matter of a couple of corners.
I think that's Mitani through to 3rd now, is it? The number 2 of Mitani that's settled in there. No, it's Puetesana. It's all change. It's impossible to keep your eye on it here. Down into turn 3. That is the action zone. It's going to be frantic there, lap after lap. Whoa. Up into turn 4. There's some brave moves there. And hitting the front for the first time is Puetesana, but not for long. He goes wide. Pratama with an opportunity. There goes Adaki up into the leads now as well as we flick it through turn 5. But he goes wide. Now Pratama hits the front. Now it's changed again. Deary me, look at this. What a lap so far. The lead has changed.
Oh, that's close.
Deary me. Puertazan nearly clipping the rear wheel of Pratama at the front, and as a result he drops backwards. We've got a lead group of 12 riders. This is frantic as ever in the Asia Talent Cup.
Wow, what a couple of corners that was here. Everyone trying to get to the front and trying to get some clean air, because this is frantic stuff in the Asia Talent Cup. Who's leading now? It's Idaki on the number 14 with Pratama just behind him. Mitani second in the championship, of course. He knows he's got to try and beat Pratama today once again on the number 7. The number 2 just behind him, Takahiro on the number 9. He's about to go up the inside at the final corner of Mitani. That's close, just runs Mitani out onto the green paint. As we start lap 3 here, it's Idaki across the line leading the way with the fast lap of the race, but not for long. Takahiro then sets the fastest lap of the race. This is going to change lap by lap, corner by corner. We're going to go through turn 1, the right-hander, and down into turn 3. Expect things to change again. Yeah,
Pratama's got a brilliant drive out to the opening corner there. Do not be surprised for him to make his way through on the race leader, Idaki. There goes the Indonesian. He hits the front here and he's got enough of an advantage behind. Should be able to hold the lead into turn 3. Meanwhile, behind, the fight for third is pretty wild. Who's that moving through into third spot now? It's Azawa. We said he had to make up some ground after a disappointing first lap. That's exactly what he's done. Azawa now up into 4th behind yesterday's race winner, Puertazan.
Yeah, Puertazan reacting well from the small contact or a little bit of an incident down at turn 7 on the second lap last time around. I think Pratama's just dived under Idaki for the race lead. It's Idaki, in fact, who's dived under Pratama. He's going to return the favour of Pratama into turn 5. No, he's not. Keeping it nice and clean so far on this lap. But this is the point of the track last time around where we saw plenty of things starting to happen. They bunch up around the midfield section. They flick it through 7 and then a short burst down into 8. Pratama pulling out the slipstream up the inside of Idaki, thinks better of it this time around.
That's the live championship. Well, was anyway. Things are changing corner by corner, so whoever's running the graphic of the live championship is probably the busiest man in the Chang International Circuit at the moment. It's not a job that I would want to have at all. As we see now, the race leader is Eamon Idaki, the Japanese rider, who had to settle for 3rd yesterday. He was leading the race, but not for long. Look at this, Puertazan with a big lunge up the inside into the opening corner. He's going to run wide, though. Pratama tries to get through the middle of him. Feet off the foot pegs for Puertazan. Somehow he stays on, and as a result, Idaki's able to pick up the pieces and hit the front once again.
Despite that mistake at the final corner, Puertazan did set the fastest lap of the race, so a great reaction from running wide on the second lap. That's close out of turn 1 again. Idaki just getting wide, coming back onto the racing line, and Pratama was in his way. Pratama getting the better launch out of turn 1. They flick it through turn 2, which really isn't a corner. It's full gas pretty much on this straight. We're going to go 5 abreast down into turn 3. It's Puertazan on the inside, Idaki late on the brakes, Pratama hanging it around the outside. Who's going to lead out of turn 3? I think it's going to be Idaki. Puertazan and Pratama getting a little bit too close for comfort again on the exit. Takahiro on the number 9 looks across at Puertazan, just says probably hello, good morning. I think they're all going to be awake by now. This is fantastic racing as Idaki leads going back up to turn 4. This is a replay of what happened down into turn 12 and lap 3. Puertazan up the inside, just runs it a little bit wide, gets it a little bit out of shape on the curbs, and when he's trying to get on the gas, Pratama's just in his way. So nothing wrong with that, just a little bit close racing, and then Puertazan just gets back upon his way as we have Idaki from Pratama. Mitani now back up into 3rd place, Azara up into 4th place. This is really hard to keep up with, changing lap by lap, and we can see we've got a lead group of pretty much 12 riders, 11 riders, down to Al-Sahuti. Oh no, it's 14 riders, 15 riders. The point scorers are pretty much all locked together here in the Asia Talent Cup. 12 and a bit laps to go. It's going to change lap by lap, corner by corner. They flick it through turn 10. This is the King Cut, turn 11. This is where Pratama led out of yesterday down into turn 12 and ultimately finished in 5th place. What's going to happen this time around? Keeping it nice and clean. Idaki good on the brakes down into turn 12. Pratama thinking better of it. Plenty of laps to go when we cross the line. 11 laps to go here in race 2.
Across the line, Idaki that leads once again. He's happy to be out front here as a Japanese rider and control the pace so far. Pratama, you feel, just has a little bit extra, and I'm sure he'll be getting quite frustrated. Yesterday, 5 riders were able to edge clear, and although it was pretty messy at the front in the final laps, at least he only had 4 other riders around them. At this stage, they've got a whole host of riders to try and contend with, riders that haven't been up fighting for podium places in races previous as well. They've got something to prove, which is not what Pratama wants at all. When you're trying to wrap up a championship, you want things to be as smooth as possible. He's not having it that way at all.
Yeah, the good thing for Pratama is he's got a 55-point buffer in the championship. When he crossed the line yesterday, as they go three abreast again down into the fast and furious turn 4, Matani diving up the inside of Pratama. Remember, those two are the top 2 in the championship. Pratama is going to take a 2 for 1 down at turn 5. They thought he did, but I think Adaki's going to hang it around the outside. Yes, he does just about the number 14. Matani sticks in 3rd place. Ogiwara on the number 16's back up into the top 4. Partizan just keeping his powder dry for a little bit in P5, but he knows that there's plenty left on the table. 10 and a bit laps to go here. Lots of laps still to go. We saw this yesterday, Jack. In the opening few laps, it was a little bit like this. It was quite frantic, quite busy, everyone trying to jostle for position, and then it settled down towards the mid part of the race, and then, of course, on the last few laps, the riders started going for it again. But this is playing into the hands of the riders who are chasing in the lower ends of the top 10. In fact, just looking down at timing screens, Azawa's dropped to, well, he was 10th across the line, but he's made it up back into the top sort of 5 or 6 there on our timing screens. As we cross the line, 10 laps to go. Adaki leading the way. Led the way all through that lap, didn't he, Adaki, apart from Pratama trying to stick it at the inside at turn 5. But as we've seen pretty much every lap here in race 2, it's probably going to change down into turn 3 as Slipstream City becomes a thing once again.
Yeah, Zawa will just be a little bit concerned there, down to 8th, and his biggest concern is the fact there's just a little bit of room starting to form ahead of him. The elastic is starting to stretch between these opening or leading 7 riders and then the gaggle of riders behind us. Well, there's contact between Adaki and Puetazan. Somehow they both stay on. How on earth did Eamon Adaki not go down there?
Wow, contact down at turn 3. 2 riders trying to go for the same piece of tarmac. Adaki did so well to stay on the bike there. I thought that was pretty much game over in terms of the race for Adaki, but he did well to stay on. Yeah, contact made down at turn 3. That was a little bit too close for comfort. And as we said, the number 14 rider who led the race briefly on the last lap did very well to stay on. He's not lost too much time. He's lost several positions, but it won't cost him too much. Let's get a replay of what happened there and look at Puetazan on the number 20. Down into turn 3, late on the brakes. Gets into P1, Azawa hanging it around the outside, then Adaki just subs it up the insides, and then, yeah, just as Pratama's coming on to make a late apex on the racing line, it doesn't go 2 for 1 down there, unfortunately, and Adaki just loses a bit of time. Thankfully, stayed on board and didn't lose a whole host of time, lost a few corners. He's going to disrupt his rhythm on this lap, but he just needs to get his head down and recompose himself, and he'll be all right.
Long lap penalty handed out to the number 17 of Ahmad Dawizi. So exceeding track limits, he's going to have to go through the long lap penalty loop in the fight for a few points as well, so that's not going to help his charge whatsoever. As you can see there, confirmation, exceeding track limits, long lap penalty for the number 17, the Malaysian. As we focus on the front, high, wide and handsome there. Who was that? The number 15 of Fadilla, who was certainly taking the car park route as we head down to turn 3 once again. And on the inside, it is Ogiwara, the man that we said might be the dark horse in this one. He looks to hit the front. But in the end, it looks as though it's the 9 of Richie Takahira from row 3 of the grid has come through to now hit the front. Well, where on earth has he come from?
Takahira, race 1 winner back in Malaysia, the opening race of the season, but unfortunately for Takahira, he only stood on the podium once after that, and that was a P2 in Malaysia. So it's been a long time for Takahira to be off the podium, headed into the Japanese Grand Prix as the joint title favourite, but he now finds himself 76 points down on Pratama, so it's not been the championship that Takahira would have wanted, and just like that he goes from P1 down to P5. That's just how quickly it can change in the Asia Talent Cup, and just like that, Pratama on the number 7 machine is back up into the race lead, as he so often does. His racecraft is very, very good, is the number 7, and chasing him is the number 20, home hero, remember, race 1 winner of Puetazan.
He's putting a hammer down here, is Pratama as well. Puetazan and the riders behind are going to be a little bit concerned here. 9 laps to go. And Pratama is just trying to make a break for victory here. He's stretching out this leading group. It's as separated as we've seen throughout this race so far. Pratama has had half a lap to be able to try and get into his rhythm, and that's exactly what he's done. The alarm bells are going to be ringing here. Pratama almost half a second clear as they come across the line. They have to try and bite back through these opening 2 sectors here. Otherwise, if Pratama's got clear space ahead of him once again through the second half a lap, I think he could well be on his way to breaking clear.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Jack. They need to box Clever down the back straight here and through this lap, because if Pratama is managing to edge out another 2-3 tenths a lap, it could be game over for victory. Nice and cleanish into there, yeah, all line astern, clean enough. So now they've just got to get their heads down and just race Clever pretty much. Who's second at the minute? I think it might be Puetazan on the number 20. Yes, it is. Just gave the classic little tap on the rear end saying, stick behind me, boys, and let's try and chase down the number 7 of Pratama. But they haven't listened. They never really do they? In the Asia Talent Cup and across the younger classes. Pratama then just runs wide out of turn 4. Got to be careful of that. We're going to see some track limit warnings come up on our screens soon enough if that keeps happening. But the riders, yeah, just got to keep calm. Adaki now up into second place. The gap is up to half a second through split 2, so they've not lost too much time, but they've got to be careful.
That mistake from Pratama there tells you everything. He feels this is the opportunity to go, pushing as hard as he has all race long, trying to get to the limit as quickly as he can do to break the riders behind. It looks as though he's got a little bit of an advantage. That mistake will have cost him, though, at least a couple of tenths of a second, but he has got that comfort buffer now with 7.5 laps remaining.
Yeah, Daki was the rider back in Indonesia who was able to go with him in race 1. Pratama had such an advantage back in Indonesia on home turf, and Daki was the only rider able to go with Pratama back in Indonesia in race 1 at least. Here we have a replay down at turn 12. Pratama dangling the leg hard on the anchors down into the final corner. This is when Pratama was starting to push and starting to break clear. Across the line, it was down to 4 tenths, so he lost a tenth, did Pratama, on that final lap that we just seen. As we go down into turn 3, the gap has pretty much disappeared, so the riders have done what they needed to do. Adaki overtook Puetazan into turn 4, and then it's been clean as a whistle through the next sort of lap or so, and they've reeled back in Pratama. This is exactly what we mean by the first sector, especially here at the Chang International Circuit. It just lends itself for slipstream. It's very, very difficult when riders are on the same machinery. That's a little bit too close for comfort between Adaki and Pratama, and just like that, Pratama's lead of half a second has vanished, and now it's Adaki in the lead of the race once again. A great move around the outside.
That'll be a blow to Pratama. He must have felt he had the opportunity there to try and break clear, and to see Adaki come through and let him know that he was there, absolutely, and take the lead away from him. I think we're going to see a change of tact now from Pratama. I'm sure he'll sit in for the rest of this race, understanding that, unfortunately, for his sake anyway, it's going to be a dogfight right to the end.
Yeah, unfortunately, in this circuit especially, you're going to need a good 2, 3, 4 tenths, maybe even half a second to break the guys lap by lap, corner by corner, because as we've seen, even with half a second advantage and Pratama's pace, he made that little mistake, didn't he, down at turn 4. Wouldn't have cost him too much time, maybe a tenth or two, but even so, even with clean air, the riders were able to just use the slipstream, keep it nice and steady as Pratama runs in a little bit too hot down at turn 12. So just like that, across the line we go. Adaki leads the way from Puetazan, Pratama down to 3rd place. Matani now in 4th. Nice helicopter views down at turn 1, the second gear, turn 1, and then they go full gas for a kilometre long back straight. Adaki now has a decent sized advantage, but as we've seen with Pratama a lap ago, probably not going to be able to pull clear, and just like that, Pratama's down into 3rd place, but we'll go down to turn 3, 4 abreast in the background, number 2 Matani lurking behind Pratama. Puetazan up in 2nd place. Ogiwara trying to hang it around the outside of Pratama. Pratama keeps P3.
Well, you just have to ask the question, with that mistake at the final corner, having had that failed breakaway attempt, has Pratama just been rattled ever so slightly here? Looks as though he's managed to get back into shape now. Here is this error, the man 2nd at the moment, just gets in too hot, runs it way, way wide, gets sucked in by Adaki in front of him. In the end, he's lucky to only lose a position because Matani was side by side. Luckily for Pratama, he was strong enough on the brakes to hold on to 3rd as we now rejoin the leading group. And it is Pratama still sat there in 2nd, but it's Puetazan that has now hit the front of this race.
So what lead group have we got? We've got a lead group of 7. We had a lead group of 5 yesterday. Ogiwara and Takahira have joined the fight. The riders who finished P6 and P7 yesterday. The number 16 and the number 9 riders, they weren't in this battle yesterday. The other 5 were, so the other 5 know exactly what to expect. Ogiwara and Takahira as hungry as ever to try and stand on the podium. We did expect a lead group of 5, 6, 7 riders to break away eventually, and this is exactly what we've got, and this is exactly what we can expect to see in the remaining 5 laps when they cross the line. Who's leading across the line? It's Adaki just from Pratama. Pratama pulling out the slipstream. Is he going to make a move down in turn 1? I'd be surprised unless he is forced to make a move because he's alongside, because as we know, there's a long back straight coming, and this is where overtaking moves can happen.
He does flow through that opening corner so well, does Pratama. You saw Puetazan on the inside trying to get a run up the inside onto him, but Pratama just sweeps across and gets a great drive out of there through turn 2 and then down into turn 3. As a result, he's the favourite to hit the front here, but Puetazan, fair play to him, he's able to take advantage of the 2-bike slipstream in front of him. He's strong enough on the brakes as well, but he does run wide on the exit of turn 3, which gives Pratama an opportunity to hit the front once more, which he does. This is tight here.
Careful.
Dearie me. I'm sure he might get a bit of a finger wagging for that, Pratama, because he didn't leave Puetazan much room whatsoever. He pretty much put him on the grass there, which he cannot do. Big moment as well. The front end bobbled through turn 4, and as a result, the championship leader has been demoted down to 7th. Well, we thought he was rattled a couple of laps ago. Those 2 moves there, firstly the one trying to stick Puetazan on the grass, you cannot do that, that is unacceptable. And then he was, massive crash, massive crash. I think that's Matani that's high-sided out of it.
It's Matani and Azawa have gone down. I think Azawa just collected the stricken bike of Matani. But yeah, huge crash down there on the exit of turn 7. Adaki leads the way from Pratama, Takahira, Ogiwara and Puetazan, who hopefully will see the riders up and walking away from the incident. But that was a huge crash down at turn 7. Matani, high side out of contention, then unfortunately it looks like Azawa with nowhere to go hit the bike of Matani and went down as well. Fingers crossed both of those riders are okay. At the front, it's left Adaki with a 7/10 lead over Pratama, with Ogiwara, Puetazan and Takahira in the lead group as well.
He has just splintered the lead group, that crash. Of course, it was Matani that high-sided out of 2nd at the time, and that has allowed Adaki now to have a 3/4 of a second advantage over the championship leader, who has recovered from that big moment at turn 4. In fact, that 3/4 of a second lead has been halved almost instantly down the kilometre-long back straight. Glad to report yellow flag's still out as we make our way through turn 3 up at turn 7, but looks as though the incident has been cleared. The marshal's doing a magnificent job to be able to get the incident cleared. As soon as we have information, we will let you know with regards to both Zen Matani and Shinya Azawa after that big crash, but we will focus at the front. 3.5 laps remaining. It was Pratama that led for just a second, but Adaki manages to swoop back through as we go through turns 4 and 5.
Huge implications in the championship chase. Matani was 2nd, remember, 55 points down on Pratama. Pratama had just made that mistake and dropped to the back of the group. That's how quickly things can change. That's a little bit too close for comfort again between Adaki and Pratama. Contact was made there on the exit of turn 7. They've just got to try and cool down a little bit here of the top 5. 4 and a bit laps to go. It's getting a little bit feisty out there. All the riders hungry to win. Pratama knows that he's got a great chance of extending his championship leads and making Malaysia his time to potentially win that title. A long way to go though, 3 and a bit laps to go. Pratama leads the way once more. It's Puetazan, the Thai rider, in 2nd place. Ogiwara, Takahira and Adaki in the group as well. 3 laps to go here in race 2 of Asia Talent Cup action. Who knows what's going to happen?
And once again, Pratama has hit the front and he's trying to stretch out his lead. It's 4/10 of a second as he comes across the line. Small little bobble on the front as he tries to roll it through turn 1 there. Puetazan, Adaki, Takahira, Ogiwara all need to work together here from 2nd to 5th to not allow Pratama to have it all his own way in his final 2.5 laps now.
They did it once, they can do it again, but they just need to box clever, as you say, Jack. Round turn 3 we go. All keeping it clean down there. The slow sweeping right-hander, important to get a good launch out of turn 3 and fire it up the next back straight. near kilometre long back straight again, up to the top end of the circuit. The fast turn 4 coming up, and then it's the infield section. What we're going to get a replay of here then, okay, I think it's going to be the crash. Watch the number 2 of Mitani, just lights up the rear end as he comes out of turn 7. And then, yeah, unfortunately, Ozawa goes down with him. As you can see on the bottom of your screens, Ryder's okay. That is fantastic news. A big crash on the exit of turn 7, one of the fastest places you can go down in terms of corners here at the Chang International Circuit. But great news, Ryder's okay.
Now, 2.5 laps remaining. Pratama has still got that half a second lead here. This is going to be concerning for the riders behind, because it looks as though Pratama is, at this present moment, the favourite to be picking up a 6th victory of the season. He's going to have to take a big effort in the final 2 laps here, the final 9 kilometres of this Chang International Circuit, to stop Pratama from romping to victory yet again. And Adaki did look pretty racy in that final sector there. He's going to be trying his level best here to stop Pratama from getting away. 2 laps to go then. Pratama from Adaki, from Takahira.
0.3 of a second over the line. They'd got it down from 0.4 to 0.3, and as you can see there, the gap is pretty much nothing. It's going to be pretty much nothing if Adaki gets a good run out of turn 1 down to turn 3. He's in the slipstream of Pratama. I'll be surprised if a move comes this time around, or will we? Adaki in the slipstream. Look at this. He's made up a good 0.4 there on Pratama, and the gap from 0.3 over the line is down to nothing.
Just look how late on the brakes Veda Pratama was there. He was able to pull out 2 or 3 bike lengths in the braking zone alone. Fantastic stuff from Pratama. As a result, Adaki did not have a chance to even get alongside him. Now he's looking to try and get buried beneath the bubble and to get sucked along behind Pratama. He's there with him now. This is going to be promising for Adaki. As you can see, Mitani and Ozawa will be taken to the medical centre for further checks. But good news is, riders both conscious after that big crash a couple of laps ago. 1.5 laps remaining, and still Pratama that's leading the way. Adaki chasing him down. It was 4.5 tenths just a lap ago. It's less than that now. It's been great work so far from Adaki, but is that great work about to be stopped by Takahira? He's got his own interests at mind here.
5 riders, 3 steps on the podium to be taken. The Thai rider, Pwetazan, race 1 winner, is down in 4th place at the minute. He's got work to do if he wants to win this race. He's got around about half a second to bridge to Pratama. Turn 11 negotiated for the penultimate time. This is going to be turn 12, where it all came down to yesterday. Pratama leads the way into there. Adaki late on the brakes. He's going to make a late lunge. Just out of picture. He's been, well, Pratama's gone wide. Don't know if there was a little bit of contact there or whatever, but starting the last lap, it is Pratama who leads the way. He led the way on the last lap yesterday and finished P5. Is a repeat coming? Who knows?
Here we go then, through turn 1, getting the perfect drive out of here. Absolutely critical. Pratama, I think he's going to be almost expecting for 1, 2, maybe even 3 red and white bikes to come alongside him here as we make our way through turn 2 and down in towards turn 3. Adaki's got the inside line. We saw how strong Pratama was on the brakes last time around, and once again, he is the superior man under braking. Pratama holds it through the vital turn 3.
Pwetazan makes a good move down at turn 3. He's now up to P3, was P5 half a lap ago, but the number 20 has locked his radars onto the race victory. And talking of locking radars, Adaki pulls out of the slipstream of Pratama. Down into turn 4 we go. The left-hander, the fast and ferocious left-hander, Pratama hangs it around the outside. Once again, late on the brakes. You don't brake much there, but just enough to make a move, and that's Pwetazan up the inside of Adaki, but thinks better of it.
So far, Pratama has ridden this final lap absolutely magnificently. Despite Adaki showing his front wheel not once but twice, Pratama has let the brakes off, just rolled around the outside and not allowed him a chance whatsoever. But is this the chance now for Adaki? No way through. We're into the final half a lap here. Options are running out for Adaki. Maybe he can dive through here. He comes up with something as we head towards turn 8 and 9. Brilliant. Big moment on the rear though, and that will allow Pratama to come back through surely. No way through. Somehow Adaki holds on.
It's all going to come down to turn 12 once again. Adaki leading the way. Pratama in 2nd place, and the home hero number 20 of Pwetazan in 3rd place. Adaki takes the inside line. Pwetazan late on the brakes. Pratama trying to hang it around the outside. Pratama cuts the inside, and Pratama's going to win. What a move on the final lap. What a win for Vader Pratama. Expertly done at turn 12, and the number 7 is a winner for the 6th time in 2023 and takes a huge leap towards claiming the 2023 title. Championship standings on your screen. 181 points, 74 now the lead heading to Malaysia. What a last lap and what a victory for Pratama. You can see there number 14 of Adaki, very, very disappointed indeed, but that was expertly done from the number 7. Hats off. He missed out yesterday, went from P1 to P5 at the final corner, but no mistakes were made this time around.
It was Marc Marquez-esque. The cutback performed absolutely magnificently from Vader Pratama, just like the 8-time world champion pulled off on Fabio Quartararo to pick off his 8th world championship. You have to feel with a move like that, Pratama has just put one hand on the Idemitsu Asia Talent Cup. A brilliant final lap. The first half he controlled brilliantly, and then when put under pressure he still had the presence of mind to perform the cutback, to execute it magnificently and take victory for the 6th time this season.
Yeah, champion's victory that was from Pratama, to say the least. Adaki chucked it up the inside at turn 9. We didn't see that yesterday. Adaki making a good move up turn 9. Probably caught Pratama a little bit by surprise, but as Jack said, kept his cool, did Pratama. Through the fast sweeping section of 10 and 11, it's where he all lost it yesterday. 25 points went begging for Pratama, but kept his cool, kept it nice and clean and got the cutback. As Jack rightly says, Marc Marquez-esque. The 8-time world champion would be proud watching that one. And then number 7 is a victor once again. And with Mitani unfortunately crashing out, of course, Partizan moves up to 2nd place in the title standings. And as we head to Malaysia, it will be all eyes on Pratama with 4 races remaining.
All he needs in Sepang in 2 weeks' time in that opening race is to extend out his championship lead by 1 solitary point, and the title will be his. And if he's unable to do that in race 1, then pretty much in race 2 all he has to do is rock up and the championship is his.
Yeah, exactly that. A huge leap towards the title for Pratama. It was looking ominous anyway, wasn't it? Pratama's been so good this year. Was a little bit unlucky to finish down in P5 yesterday, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. And Adaki, of course, will be disappointed to finish in 2nd place, less than a 10th away from victory, led into the final corner. Partizan back up on the podium again, a double podium for the Thai rider. He'll of course be a little bit disappointed not to stand on the top step once again, but to have a double podium in front of your home crowds, that's a job well done for the number 20 on home turf. Ogiwara and Takahira finishing in P4 and P5, half a second splitting the top 5 riders. It's a shame that Mitani and Nozawa went down the roads. Fingers crossed they're all okay, taken to the medical centre for a checkup. Riders conscious. Here we go then. The last lap. This is down into turn 3. Pratama leading the way. Adaki pulling out of the slipstream. You can see Partizan there diving up the inside into P3. But as we mentioned during the race, Pratama so good on the anchors in hard braking zones. Very difficult to make a move on Pratama. And then he led all the way around to this point here, the number 7, Adaki. This was a great move, to be fair to Adaki, up the inside at turn 9. Ran Pratama a little bit wide, gets it a little bit out of shape, does Adaki. That cost him the run through turn 10 into 11, but he still led the way, went defensive, but this was the final corner.
Well, if there are any t-shirt printing businesses in Indonesia, I think they might be pretty busy over the next couple of weeks. All Vader Pratama needs now in the next 4 races is to finish 9th in all of them, and he needs his chief championship rival Partizan, I think it is, that moves up to 2nd, to win all 4 of the races. To put that into context, he's finished off the podium just once all season. That was yesterday when he finished 5th. He's won 6 races, 2nd once as well. So yeah, I think we can safely say, get those t-shirts printed.
Yes, absolutely indeed. Pratama has been sometimes on a different playing field to the rest of the riders. Looking forward to speaking to these 3 once they're done on the podium. Hope everyone enjoyed that at home. A fantastic race once again. What a way to start the day here at the Chang International Circuit. Great for the Thai fans who've come out in their force. You can see plenty of Somkiat Chantra fans out there. He is the star of the show this weekend on home soil, coming up in Moto2 race. He will start from P5 on the grid. Before that, the Moto3 Grand Prix. title on the line in Moto 3, of course. What a championship chase we've got there. Pedro Acosta could potentially win the Moto 2 title today. And as Jack mentioned earlier on in the show, Bagnaia versus Martin rolls on this afternoon. What a day we've got coming up. What a start to the day it was. Puetazan with the Thai flag around his back. Here's the results, confirmation of the final results from race 2. Veda Pratama a winner once again from Ayman Daki and Jack Puetazan. Ryuta Ogiwara and Takehira finishing in the lead group in P4 and P5. Hafi finished P6 with Nicholas, Putra and Fadia finishing inside the top 9.
Well, Ogiwara won't believe his luck. The 4th time this year that he's finished in 4th place. Misses out on the podium here once again, this time by only a 1/10 of a second. Further down, points going finishes for the Australian Levi Russo. Marco Melandri's brother there in 14th, picking up 2 points. Jesse Melandri, a brilliant performance from him. Kitsada Tanachot getting a point to his title tally as well. A first point of the season for Tanachot on home soil, so I'm sure that the Thai rider will be absolutely delighted with that. What a place to pick up a first Idemitsu Asia Talent Cup point. This is the championship then, Elliot. 74 points the difference now. It's going to take something remarkable to stop it being V for victory, V for Veda.
Certainly is. 1 hand and 4 fingers on the 2023 trophy. There's Veda Pratama, 74 points in hand over Puetazan, who moves up ahead of Mitani after Mitani's unfortunate crash in the latter stages. Again, fingers crossed Mitani is all okay. Further down, Adaki level on points with Mitani. Takehira, some good points on the boards for the Japanese rider. He's P5, Ogiwara is P6. Ozawa was caught up in the incident with Mitani. Unfortunately, no points today for the podium finisher yesterday. Hafi, Alshutsi and Putra round out your top 10 with Fadia, Nicholas, Rasaidan, Dawizi and Melandri completing your top 15 in the overall standings. The wildcard rider of Singapore this weekend, a good weekend, a fantastic weekend in fact, for Kiatisak Singapore. 12 points on the boards at your home race, a job well done indeed. Time for the podium ceremony then here in Thailand, and once again the Thai fans have got a home hero to cheer on. It won't be the Thai national anthem though, it'll be the Indonesian national anthem for the 6th time this year. The riders just debriefing on the back of the Golf Buggy.
I think that's a job for me next year, Elliot. I wouldn't mind driving the Golf Buggy to the podium. Of course, we saw it crash last year, didn't we? En route to the Moto 2 podium, somehow they managed to beach the Golf Buggy. So far, the driver has managed to avoid any issues this time around. Well done, sir. Good job. The taxi ride complete.
Put your name forward, mate. I might put my name forward as well. We can be driver and co-driver next year.
Could be. Maybe he's just an Uber driver that someone has called in Parc Ferme.
There you go then. The main grandstand here filling up nicely ahead of Grand Prix race day. The fans who came in nice and early have been treated to an absolute spectacle, haven't they? Both races in the Asia Talent Cup have not disappointed. We were in no doubt about that anyway, but it lived up to expectations and more.
The one thing I love about Pratama there is you saw just about everything from him. He obviously had the outright pace and was able to control it at the front, as we saw in those final couple of laps, but halfway through the race as well, the red mist came down. He is so aggressive when he has to be. He's not afraid to take the gloves off and put his nose where potentially other riders don't really want it to be. He's certainly showcasing a real plethora of skills. You have to feel it stands him in good stead for what is to come. I mean, the only issue for Pratama is he's actually too young at the moment. He's almost a little bit too young. But the future is definitely bright for the talented Indonesian. I'm sure Europe awaits for him, potentially the European Talent Cup and then the Junior GP. He is on the road to MotoGP. He's not on the road to MotoGP, he's on the motorway to MotoGP, and he's got it absolutely flying in 6th gear at the moment. Yeah,
he absolutely has. You could hear the round of applause and the screams for the home hero Puetazan standing on the podium once again. Adaki, the number 14, 2nd place again for Adaki. It's the 2nd time he's finished 2nd this year. 4 podiums in a row now for Ayman Adaki. The 2023 does belong to Veda Pratama. A star in the making from Indonesia, rocking the sunglasses once again as we get set for the Indonesian national anthem. That is quickly becoming one of my favourite national anthems, a classic from Indonesia. And as we said, a star is born in Vader Pratama. We're going to be hearing that national anthem plenty of times in the years to come, I predict.
We've got the sound system sorted here, haven't they? That was
yeah.
absolutely blasting out. Fantastic. Just like the Dutch national anthem is now becoming synonymous with Formula One, you feel that the Indonesian national anthem now becoming synonymous with the Asia Talent Cup. The good news is, Vader Pratama's riding is a lot better than his choice of sunglasses.
It certainly is. Here's race 2 highlights then from the Chang International Circuit. Pratama launching away well from pole position, just as he did yesterday. Puetazan off the front row, launched it into P2 early doors, but it was line astern as you were down the back straight on the opening few laps. It was getting very, very busy on the opening few laps. Plenty of riders all in the lead group, all fighting for the podium positions and the race lead. This was the opening lap down at turn 3. We saw plenty of ongoings down there at turn 3. This is down into turn 12. Puetazan on the number 20, trying to lead the way in the early exchanges. A little bit of contact there on the exit for Puetazan. Didn't disrupt his rhythm too much though, but the lead was changing lap by lap, corner by corner. Down at turn 3, once again, several lines, and this was the incident that nearly saw Adaki go out of the race. The number 14 and the number 7 were toe-to-toe all the way through. That was into the fast turn 4, the left-hander. Adaki leading away from Pratama, Puetazan, Ogiwara in the lead group, Matani in the lead group. All the lead contenders in the title chase were battling away. Unfortunately, this is what happened on the exit of turn 7. Watch the second bike on your screen there, Matani, a high side out of second place, and unfortunately the number 21 of Azara didn't have anywhere to go and then collected the stricken motorcycle. Both riders have been reported okay, they're in the medical centre having a checkup, but this was turn 12, the final corner of the final lap. Pratama, expertly done, Marc Marquez-esque at the final corner to win his 6th race of the season. Adaki and Puetazan standing on the podium, but as we head to Malaysia, it is all about one rider. The number 7 of Pratama can wrap it up next time around. We will see you in a couple of weeks at the Sepang International Circuit.